Hello friends, welcome to our channel, that is Hariharan Express channel. So today I will discuss another topic, that is input output configuration. Everybody know that what are the input output devices by which we can give some inputs to the computer, and computer after processing some data, some processing of some work, lastly or finally they release some data where we can see the data, or where we can see the output, the result we can see. Okay, based on that, that is we will discuss some part how it is defined, or how it is receive the data, or what is the configuration of input output, that is model. And all of you know that what is the concept regarding that. Very simple way, input output devices, all of you know that. Still, that is what is the process inside, we will see. Okay, the terminal sends and receives serial information. What are the information we will provide to the computer, that is serial wise we will receive the data. Okay, we whenever send some data to the computer system, and the quantity of information has that is some alphanumeric code where computer can understand, and the serial information from the keyboard is shifted into the input register. We can tell us that is that input register can be defined, that is input register. Okay, and similarly if we go through the output receive the data from computer system, then we can go through output register. Two register is very important to receive the data and release the data, and these two register communicate with a communication interface serially, and with the that is a particular SC or accumulator register in parallelly. Whenever it needs to receive the data and process the data, accumulator through accumulator it process and execute some parts and release some data. Based on that, that is a number of components we have to define through input output configuration. So now we see that whenever I go through this input output configuration, three important part we have to, or components we have to define. One part is that is input output terminal. We can write it input output terminal. Okay, and another is a serial communication interface. We can here also serial communication interface. Okay, and a computer register and a flip flops, and some computer, okay, a register and some flip flops, okay, flip flops. So these three components are required. These three components are required to define to create that is input output configuration. Okay, how to define, how to design, we will discuss one after one. Very simple way. Okay, you see, whenever we will give some data or some instruction to the computer system, definitely we will go through some keyboard. Okay, now we just start, that is keyboard as a input to terminal. You see, very simple way how it is create a input output configuration. Okay, first you see that is the keyboard. Then what happens, you see, very simple, it is input to output terminal. This input terminal is a keyboard. Then it transfers the data to the input register. Here is input register. Okay, you see, we can also write here input register. Here input register. Okay, this is the, that is register, receive the data keyboard, but directly the data cannot be received through some interface. Serial interface is there, that we can tell as a, that is a transmitter interface. We can tell as a here transmitter interface. Okay, through transmitter interface, this keyboard data can receive by the input register. Okay, this is the concept. Input register receive the data from keyboard through this transmitter interface. Means whenever press any key from the keyboard, transmitter that translate that data which is understood by the input register. Directly cannot receive. Okay, translator transmitted the data from keyboard to input register. Then here is some flag system is there. We can tell as a FGI. FGI flag means a flag FGI by input flag. We can tell as a, this is a input flag. That is, we can tell as a input flag. Input flag is there. Okay, this is the one flag system is there. If input flag is 1, set to 1, suppose input flag is set to 1, then that data, okay, that data released to the other part, other component. If it is 1, if it is 0, input register cannot receive data from keyboard. Okay, because it is not active, input register is not active, then it cannot be received. See that some connection is there, but it will not receive the data, or disconnected due to certain disconnection. This register input register cannot receive the data from keyboard. Okay, this is the basic concept. We have to see that if input flag is 1, if it is FGI is 1, then it will receive the data from keyboard. Okay, now you start. Here is suppose AC. Here is AC. Accumulator, it will receive the data from keyboard, sorry, input register, not direct keyboard, it is receive data from this. Okay, now you see input register, sorry, input register send the data from input register send the data to the accumulator. Accumulator now it receive the data. Now accumulator process the data. What are the required data given by the some process, okay, some instruction, it will receive the data from input register and process the data. After that what happens, it will release the data through output register. This is the another register. Here similarly input register here, similarly output register also here. Okay, output register also here, it is under output register. And some flip flop also, actually FGI is flip flop. Input flag is a flip flop, one flip flop at 0 1 0 1 it will generate. Similarly, whenever I go through flip flop, this in flip flop for output, here flag or a output flip flop will be active. It should be 1. If it 1, there is no problem. If it is 0, it will not receive the data from here. In that case, what happens here? Accumulator data, or whenever process data transfer from accumulator to output register, in that case FGO, or that is output flag, we can tell as it is a output flag. Output flag, this output flag should be active. After that it will receive the data from accumulator, then it will transfer the data to the either printer or monitor or anything, any output devices. Here you can write suppose printer, for example, monitor also you can write, it does not matter. Okay, we can write here. Then direct data transfer from output register to printer, it is not possible. It cannot be that is send the data from, or output register cannot send the data to the printer, what are the data he has. Okay, in that case what happens, some receiver interface is required. Here is some receiver, okay, receiver interface is required to receive the data from output register. Okay, and that receiver interface transfer the output data from output register to printer. It is a one kind of translator like this. Whatever the data transfer from output register transfer to printer. Okay, so this is the basic concept. Printer cannot receive the data from SC directly, it needs output register. Whenever output register transfer their data to the printer through receive or some interface is there, it will transmit, or it will transfer the data, what is the data available in a output register. Okay, that data transfer to printer. This is the process. So in this part, whenever we analyze this input output configuration, it has a 3 part. One part is input to output to terminal, this part either go through input devices or output devices that cannot receive the data directly, it is received through certain number of corresponding registers. If we go through keyboard, so keyboard send the data to the input register. Similarly, if printer receive the data, printer receive the data from output register, not directly from that operations, that is by accumulator. Okay. So first part is input to output to terminal. Middle part is some communication interface, serial communication interface. That is we go through receiver interface, if we receive data from output register to printer, or transmitter interface that transmit the data from keyboard to input register, like this. And the last part who is processing and store the some data, that is a computer register or flip-flops. Role of a flip-flops is defined for, that is the particular register, input register or output register should be active. If it is inactive, that is cannot receive data or sending the data. Okay. For that reason, if we go through FGO is 1, then output register will be active. In that case, that can send the data. If FGO is equal to 0, for example, FGO is equal to 0, FGO output flags will be 0, so it cannot be send the data to the printer. Similarly, if FGI is equal to 1, so it can be send the data to the accumulator. If it is or receive the data from keyboard, if FGI is 1, then receive the data from keyboard. If it is 0, for example, FGI is 0, then it cannot receive the data from keyboard or cannot send to this accumulator. So these are the basic concept whenever go through input output configuration. Okay. This input output configuration having 3 components. One is input output terminal, another is serial communication interface, next is a computer register and a flip-flops. Okay. Based on that, different parts we can define. If we go through input output terminal, that is printer or keyboard. If a serial communication interface, that is receiver and a transmitter. If we go through computer registers or flip-flops, we go through output register, accumulator register, or input register. Or flip-flops point of view, we go through FGO, that is output flags, and if we go through FGI, output input flags. So in this way, we design the input output configuration. Okay. I hope all of you understand this particular topic, that is input output configuration, and a very simple way to design, and we can also that is define if any that is instruction how it is pass, how to execute, as your choice you can also define. Okay. Thanks to all everybody. So I hope this particular topic you can understand, and if you like my channel, you can subscribe my channel, and if you give some comments, you can also give some comments on this videos or different videos under my channel. Okay. Thanks to all.